Hi, welcome to our 30-day drawing challenge. The first day, we are going to practice just learning light and shadow, working on an egg. If you know this, it's still always great to just refresh the basics. I've taken a light, we call it a single light source when we try to have the lighting predominantly from one side, and I've put it on an egg on a paper so that you can just see the shadow shapes very clearly. So I start by just finding the shape and the size of the egg on the paper where I want to put it, and then finding the shadow shape underneath the egg, which is the cast shadow. And I draw that all in one value. And then now I'm starting to add in some more shading, darken the darks where they're darker. The darkest dark that you're going to find in a simple still life setup like this will be where it's resting on the table. And that's really what grounds it and gives it some weight so that it doesn't feel like it's floating. I'm going to label the parts for you. There's the highlight. Mid-tone is the basic color of the object. And then there's the shadow shapes, which are the core and cast shadows. Core shadow is the one I'm labeling now, which wraps around the object. And the cast shadow is the one that the object is casting, that shadow. Then we've got two areas of reflected light. One is bouncing into the core shadow, and one is bouncing into the cast shadow. Now you have 5 minutes to draw the egg yourself. So grab your paper, grab your pencil. You can use any pencil, paper, pen to do this. Pause the video if you need to gather supplies. Start by, I like to draw a line just horizontally through where the egg is, and then from there find my egg shape. So I would do like a quick line and then draw the oval shape. And then what you're going to look for next is where the shadow shape comes across the form of the egg. So I would look at the back of the egg and see exactly where that shadow is coming, and then all the way around where it wraps towards the front of the egg. And then I would look underneath and see how far along the width of the egg that bottom cast shadow is coming. And then I would look at the back of the egg and see how high up does the cast shadow come. So it's a pretty common drawing error to have the cast shadow come all the way up so that it is in line with the top of the egg. So remember that cast shadow is underneath the egg. And so the egg is going to be rising above it. Once you get your basic shapes in there the way you want them, you're going to start adding in a layer of value. So that would be just simple shading to get your two shadow shapes defined. You don't need to do a lot of detail at this point. You can just do one value. You don't even need a line where the egg is resting at the table yet. And you'll be amazed like how much it begins to read like a shape when you just, or get the volume of it when you just get in that basic shadow shape. The core shadow, which is the shadow on the egg, the shadow on the object, that is going to be a softer shadow. And you can see where the cast shadow is on the table. Cast shadows are usually harder. Where the cast shadow is closer to the light, it's going to be a crisper edge. And as the shadow moves away from the light, it gets to be a softer edge. So keep your eye out for that. As you learn more and more edge control, it'll help your forms have volume. So look for the soft and the sharp edges. Once you get in your shadow shapes, that's when you'll begin to nuance things a little bit more. And we want you to start seeing the reflected light. But keep in mind that the shadows will always be darker than the light. So even the reflected light that is a part of the shadow shape will still be darker than anything on the light side of the egg. So you can see that beautiful reflected light underneath the egg. It's still going to be darker than the light on the egg. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's one of the common visual distortions that happens is we overemphasize, kind of get caught up in the details. It happens to all of us. So you just have to try to keep seeing that big picture. We really want to just keep breaking it down into the basic division of light and shadow. So keep that in mind as you're developing details on these longer drawings. If you have more time, give yourself 20 minutes. You can get super detailed with this. You can, get your own egg and light and set this up and get all the little textures on there. So in a 5-minute study like this, it's not going to be as, refined and detailed, but you can still really get a good amount in there and start practicing to see these different shapes and transitions. Okay, so feel free to put on some music of your choice or listen to something, or you can hum and make sound effects. I always make sound effects when I draw. I used a Prismacolor colored pencil for mine. You can use any kind of pencil, 2B. You can use art pencils. You can use, you can even do this with a ballpoint pen. It's amazing the variety of value that you can get with just a ballpoint pen. So don't let supplies keep you from just getting in some practice. Just grab whatever is on hand and really try to just enjoy the rest of this time, really defining those lights and shadows and trying to see the differences in the kinds of the shadows, and just really try to imagine the way these forms are wrapping around. And if you were to feel the light moving across the egg, what that would feel like, and how that shadow, you can even think of it like water, bouncing on the egg, and then it's kind of splattering off around it. And you can see at the front of the egg, right before the cast shadow, the white of the paper is kind of brightest. And that's because that's where the light of the paper is. The light is hitting the paper most strongly. So where the light hits things directly, it's just going to be a little brighter. And then we call it the flow of light, where as it flows away from the light source, things just diminish a little bit in that brightness. Before you finish your drawing, take a quick second to just stop and look at it, see anything that you need to adjust. For this next segment, we are going to do some really quick gestures. So same idea. We're going to do the egg, single light source, but we're going to do 5 different gestures. So as you're drawing objects in your daily life, everything has a gesture. And so kind of look for that. I don't know, just that kind of expression that the object has, the way it's slanting or tilting or expressiveness there. And just work on describing that and finding that. It's really fun. The more time you spend kind of looking at and appreciating ordinary objects, I feel like it just brings so much more appreciation and joy. You just start noticing more things, right? The ordinary everyday beauties of just how light interacts with things. So these are going to be super quick. I'll give you 5 different egg examples after this quick clip, and then you can do your own quick set of 5 gestures, and then you will have a wonderful, already great start to your day of practice, and you'll be well on your way to nurturing your own art skills and developing that. So super excited. I would love for you to share your drawings with me. You can connect with me on Instagram. Again, let's just commit to just putting in a little bit of practice every day, and just see where that goes. Okay, so here, now you're up for your first minute. So do a quick line from the front to the back of the egg, find that gesture, draw an oval around it. Another, quick oval. Remember that the shadow will be under the egg, so don't get that shadow up in line with the egg. Make sure that it's going underneath it and really wrapping around. Take care that your shadow edges, that they are curving. Don't get it just flat into the back of the egg. It is curving. And if you look, the core shadow is always a little bit above where the cast shadow is, right? Because the light is blocked on that object as it's above the thing it's blocking. So remember that core shadow is going to be above it. So make sure that is higher, the cast shadow is lower. And you got this. Hopefully this has just flown by. You're working on your last egg here, and you have done already just a great set of practice for your drawing. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for meeting me here in the morning.